Let's talk about road safety in the country. So there's a story in the Standard this morning, page 4. There's a new feature that's been released by BBC Africa, which is talking about our killer roads. Joining us for this conversation is the chairman of the Kenya Road Safety Association. His name is David Kiarie. He's in the studio with us. Shortly, we'll also be joined online via Zoom by Richard Chacha, who is a journalist who will also be joining this conversation. David, it's good to have you on the show. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
This is called the hot seat, where you're seated.
Yeah, sure.
But because you're coming to tell us just about, road accidents in the country, it's not going to be that bad, okay? Because you'll be telling us about your experience, your experience in road safety. First, tell us about the Kenya Road Safety Association.
Yeah.
What is it?
Kenya, that is Road Safety Association of Kenya, was formed in 2013. This is when we had so many accidents on our roads. In fact, it started in 2002, and but it was as Speed Governor and Road Safety Association, but we split after some time, and then we came up now with the Road Safety Association of Kenya. But I've been chair for about 4 years now. There was another chair, and I was elected. This is corporates coming together, bodybuilders, people who sell vehicles, and even we have some banks as our members. We used to have some media houses, but I think you'll join us.
When you say bodybuilders, you mean motor vehicle bodybuilders?
Motor
not
vehicle.
gym.
Not gym, yeah, sure, not gym. And members in the matatu industry, and also long-distance drivers. We try to make sure that we are joined, all of us, because anything to do with road safety is about us, all of us. It involves anybody who uses our roads.
Do you have boda as your members?
Yeah, we have their leaders, with Boda. They have so many associations, so we have some few are our members.
How about those representing the interests of pedestrians or passengers?
It's free. We don't charge anything. Anybody who wants to join, because it's about our road. So we have some few members, and
So what do you do as an association? What's the benefit of joining there?
one is only to discuss about our roads, because you see, like when we talk of corporates, these people who come to work, you use these roads. When an accident happens, your corporate will miss an employee because of this road accident. So it is more important. And, anything discussed, we can solve problems by discussing. So when we discuss about these issues, we know what is affecting us, what can we do. For instance, Road Safety Association was really, when NTSA was coming up, we really pushed or lobbied for it, because we knew the benefit of having a body, a regulation body in our country, because we didn't have.
Okay. I think also by the time now you were coming together, then it appears to me as though, there were problems. There were things that were being realized. There were issues, accidents back and forth, whether it was looking at the welfare of pedestrians, those who were using, non-motorized vehicles, things like that. So what was the state, the situation before formation of this?
I want to tell you the state was very serious. And as the numbers, by then, we were talking of figures of 2,000 people killed in a year. And that was a very big number. And that is how you saw Michuki coming, very powerful. And now we were able to form this association so that we support whatever he wanted. And we really did it. It really worked. And we were able to see a number of decrease in accidents. And because everybody was in support by that time. So what I mean by that time, because you cannot compare that time and this time. Because when we talk of road safety, it is about everybody's responsibility. It is not about the police. It's not about NTSA. It's not about even you yourself. It is us to be responsible so that we are able to change our culture, our attitude towards our roads, and things can change.
A lot has been written in today's paper. Ndu, you can maybe just highlight that story in today's paper. And also, the BBC Africa Eye released a documentary called Kenya's Killer Roads, which was also actually starring David Kiarie and Richard Chacha, who will be joining us. And it takes us through the journey of somebody who goes to try and procure a driving license without having sat through any driving class. Without even going through any driving tests. They pay money and then they get a driving license. That is one. Another one where a completely unroadworthy vehicle is taken through inspection.
Passes.
And it goes and it passes and it receives an NTSA certification that it is certified to be on the road. This vehicle does not even have a functioning gearbox. But it ends up there. And it comes out. So in both instances, they're highlighting the weaknesses in the system, all leading into the National Transport and Safety Authority, which NTSA is the one that has issued this driving license, Smart DL, to somebody who had not even sat an exam. And there's the driving school, which is also being highlighted here, and somebody in the driving school who just sits and says, you sijali bana. Si mimi nakwambia. Sini mimi nakwambia boss. Unajali nini? Pays money, gets the DL. Another one, a guy who's a fixer, you pay money and you get your NTSA PSV license to be on the road. Exposing this. What is this story on the Standard saying?
Well, we're looking at 2021 as the year that had the highest number of fatalities reported in a period of 5 years, right? And of course, this is being attributed to some of the things that you're talking about. During the year, the number of people killed on Kenyan roads went up by more than 20% compared to 2020, more than 4,000 deaths. I mean, you gave us a number of 2,000, David, and over 16,000 injuries were reported. So again, coming from this story, there was looking at the dagger operation with an aim of uncovering the filth in Kenya's transport sector that continues to claim lives. We're looking at now some of the numbers, right? Between January 1st and March 20th, 2020, 95 drivers lose their lives compared to 100 during the same period, 2021. Between January 1st to March 20th, 2022, 359 pedestrians died compared to 299 during the same period in 2021. 154 passengers died between the same period compared to 163 in 2021. 289 is the number of motorcyclists who died between January and March compared to 245 last year. Pillion passengers perished, 109 compared to 80 during the same period. 15 pedal cyclists died in the same period compared to 27 in 2021. 749 passengers seriously injured compared to 589. 563 motorcyclists seriously injured, 330 pedestrians seriously injured, 210 drivers seriously injured in road accidents between January and March 2022 compared to 205 in the same year. Shedding light on several things here in terms of the very little money you have to pay compared to the loss of life, the amount of money spent in hospitals seeking care because of injuries, and, you know, time lost because now having to sit at home, time and money, livelihoods affected, lost because of having to sit at home to nurse these injuries, right? So the money spent to procure these things really illegally, incomparable to the money then have to be spent, whether it's medical care, whether it's loss of livelihood and things like this, right? Also shedding light on the PSV industry in the country, all vehicles are supposed to pass an annual NTSA safety check to be declared fit to be on the road or unroadworthy. However, some of the systems are corrupted, and with a few coins, a completely written off vehicle can be given a new lease of life to operate. You said, David. that the country will continue losing lives if corruption in driving schools, for example, and motor inspection is not stopped. NTSA still says it has a zero tolerance policy towards corruption, and says that they are also investigating the wrongdoing upon which light has been shed by this expose.
There's a lot here. There's a lot, and the focus here is today on the NTSA, right? Because that's why, David, you're saying there are people who should not be driving, and yet they're behind the wheels on Kenyan roads. There are vehicles that should not be on the road, and yet they've been licensed to be on the road. You went through with the BBC, and also you spoke to the Standard on this particular story. What exactly did you, I mean, even as a chairman of the association, how deep is this rot?
To be sincere, it is very much deep, because we are only talking of the vehicle which was exposed by the BBC. But before this, I personally had taken a vehicle to Thika Inspection Center, and it was a lorry, and it was exposed during that time, and it passed because I just paid 6,000 and the vehicle passed. And I did so many letters to NTSA, to the ministry, everywhere. And what happened, the in charge of that station was transferred to another station. And, the corruption,
So after exposing this corruption, the only thing that was done was move the
just
officer
moving
from
the officer from Thika to Nyeri. So you just you take the same corrupt officer somewhere else. But unless, because when we talk of NTSA, we are not talking, we have people in NTSA who are working. You know, all these institutions, we have bad people in all the institutions. Even if you go to a church, you will find a pastor who does things which are not supposed to be done. But the right thing is to make sure that those people who are caught are fired. And that will make others fear to do the same things. Because when we are talking of you can give somebody a license to go on our road and drive, what are you doing? You are a murderer. You want people to die. You want to kill people. When you allow a vehicle which is unroadworthy. And remember, this vehicle in Kenya, the heavy commercial vehicles and PSV go for inspections once in a year. And they are inspected, they're supposed to be inspected from ball joint, everything. So that when those vehicles are on the road, at least as a driver and you're driving your vehicle, you are assured that these vehicles are safe, even the time you are passing those vehicles. But imagine, a vehicle has not been checked. That is killing, and that is what is killing this country. This is the problem we have.
Is there a direct correlation? And to look at these numbers that we are seeing, because these are clear numbers that have been collected in the country. Is there a direct relation between these accidents, deaths, injuries that we've seen, and incompetent driving and unroadworthy vehicles?
That is perfect. It is.
Or are we saying that there are other factors that could have affected these numbers?
There are many factors. There are many factors, not only these. That is one of the factors. Like the driving license. You know, a vehicle is a machine, is something which it is directed where to go. And the person who drives this vehicle, not well trained, can cause death.
Sure.
Anytime, anywhere. And that is why you see, even in other countries, for you to have a license, you earn. You are not just given. They must make sure that you are competent. And also, even yearly, you are checked as a driver, because maybe in between there you have a problem with the eyes, you have another problem, you are sick, there are other diseases whereby you are not even supposed to drive. But when we talk of whatever we have seen, whatever has been exposed, there are so many other factors. For instance, in Kenya, and I said in another place, we have about 105 black spots. How do we agree, and the government agrees, and they write a board, this is a black spot? And you tell people that people die here. Seriously. That and all that is the design of the roads. You know, such small things. And I gave an example today, because we used to have so many deaths on what you call Nithi River. You remember every time we were talking about Nithi Bridge. when we lobbied, seriously lobbying, because all what was supposed to be done there, even not spending much money. And when they did exactly what was supposed to be done, we have now about 3 years. We have never discussed about anything.
What did they do?
Because these are just designs, road designs. You know, they separated. So just separation of vehicles which are coming and the ones which are going down. So that if this vehicle has a problem, will not cause that problem to the vehicle which is the oncoming vehicle. So there are small things which can be done, which are not done. So when we are talking about road safety, there are many factors.
Is it the same lobbying that if you leave Salga and you're heading towards Kericho?
Yeah.
There was a similar demarcation where in the middle of the road, they actually put barriers.
Yes.
So that even if, because it's a long downward drive,
Yeah.
so that even if a vehicle loses control, the likelihood of it ramming into these other vehicles on the other side is minimized completely. Because there'll be a barrier that you'll come into contact
And
with.
even banks now that have been put on
But
the side.
still
of the
they
road.
did not. But still they did not do what we wanted done on Salga, because you see that's a downhill. Yeah? So if you go to other countries, they put what you call crash areas, so that when the vehicle loses balance, you can put your vehicle on the crash area.
I've seen them.
Yeah,
They're
and
there.
that means
there are two on Salga.
Exactly.
There's two crash areas where it's a section on the end of the road, on
Yes.
the edge of the road,
Yes.
which has been created and it's clearly marked crash area. So the vehicle can veer off.
You as
Get
a
off the
driver,
road.
and the vehicle has sometimes you have lost control. You can drive your
direct it
vehicle
to
to that side. But there are so many factors. Why do vehicles lose control? Have you asked yourself? Some things are common sense. We use even substandard things. Reflectors are substandard. The oil we are using, the brakes, and all these. If you get them and they are being made here in Kariobangi and they are fixed in your vehicle and may even you don't know. And the time you try to apply your brakes, my friend, it starts smoking. That tells you it's a direct death. So there are so many things to be done.
Getting the break and the party.
Or a color.
It's a color. I'm glad you bring out the issue of unmotorable roads. Because, you know, we always keep talking about, it's a driver error, you know, the drivers who should not be on the road, the drivers who have bad habits, the Kenyan driving habits. And then we talk about the vehicles that should not be on the road and the police have allowed them. But the road itself is a cause of accidents.
Yes.
To what extent should we be highlighting this? Because I think, you know, there are very many, just like you're talking about, it's design of the road, and the issue has been highlighted, and it takes a lot of public pressure. Ngong Road is one, and we were talking about it just the other day. You've talked about Nithi, we've talked about Salga. For very many years, Salga has been a black spot. We talk about Kiarie going to Naivasha.
Yeah, sure.
They come and just one day erect bumps. Next thing, a truck just comes and plows into vehicles and bursts into flame. Many people die.
Killing 46 that time. 46 died on the spot.
And what has been done at Kiarie? Nothing much.
No, what we did, we went to court because of that case of Kiarie. The association went to court. We won that case, and it was now the county government and the national government to make sure that they put proper signs, because that driver was coming from Uganda and he did not know about this road, and then all of a sudden,
the road before, and it was
and he had used this road, but the bumps were constructed a few days. When he's coming, he's thinking the road is still clear, and then he goes over the bumps, and then the vehicle goes to flame. So there are things, and even the signs you are changing. The road signs must be there, and that's why we are saying it is very important for our schools. And you have seen cases going on, and my question is just one: why did Michuki succeed? We always talk of Michuki rules. What made Michuki succeed? It was very simple. He was given support from every quarter. Now, we started an NTSA as a body because when we were planning and saying, if we have a body, if one man could succeed, what about if we have an authority? Then it will be easier. But immediately we formed this authority. Then things started coming from different quarters. Because why? You have brought alcohol. Who drinks at night? They are the people with money. That is why you saw the first case was taken by lawyers. They want to remove the alcohol on the road. Why? You are interfering with them.
With their
and
freedoms.
then accidentally a senior judge was arrested in Thika Road. And within a short time, NTSA have been removed on the road. So it has to be serious.
So we sabotage our own selves.
We sabotage them. The other day, we saw a case in our papers whereby driving schools went to court and they succeeded in that case.
What was the case?
And, they were complaining, NTSA, they are harassing them, and now the NTSA should not be involved in these driving schools and whatever. And don't forget, we have gone for 2 years coming up with a curriculum because we realized that the driver in Mombasa, the way he's taught, is different from a driver in Kisumu. So we came up with a curriculum so that any student going to school, you are taught the same thing.
Same uniformity.
You understand? Who is supposed to test you? Is those the same NTSA guys? Let me tell you, yes, we have corrupt officers there. And we should remove them. We also have like the driving schools you hear. Not that all those driving schools are bad, and not meaning that because they were captured there, because that is an employee, to be very sincere. And when you're employed and you want to do bad things, the only thing is
What
to
does the
make sure
institution do?
What do they do? Now, it has been exposed. We have written so many letters to them. And when they went to court, and they won the case anyway, that today, I don't think you can get a license now because it was stopped. And even if they win that case, the fact is that our drivers are not trained properly. And me, I was suggesting, why can't our drivers even be trained by National Youth Service? Surely, because we are talking of lives. Here, you people, you are talking about 4,500. The association refused the figures. And we were on air. We said, no, the figures were not 4,500.
So
we will believe the figures were 5,000 or above 5,500. Those are the people who died. Because what does the police do? The people who die on the spot, those are the people who are counted. But you forget there are people who are taken to hospital and they don't make
die
it.
thereafter.
You understand?
Yeah.
They don't make it. So when we talk about 16,000 people who will never walk again, is something which should be discussed, my friend. When you talk about 5,500 people have lost their lives, that is a whole village. We have wiped a whole village within a second. So this is something which should be discussed with seriousness.
That's true. Let's take a break at this point. It's 9:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. David Kiarie is the chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. He is here with us because we are discussing road safety, the killer roads of Kenya, a story done by BBC Africa Eye, and then also done by the Standard Group and the Standard newspaper today. What is happening on our roads? A story exposing the kind of rot and corruption that happens in terms of people procuring driving licenses, people procuring road transport authority licenses to be on the road, that's the PSV licenses, and all manner of things that are happening in our country. We'll be back with this conversation shortly. Keep it right here.
This is the Situation Room.
Our guest this hour is David Kiarie, chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. We're talking about the killer roads of Kenya. What's happening on our roads? Is it because of corruption? Is it because of just bad behavior, bad driving behavior? Is it because of bad design of our roads? Is it because of poor maintenance of the roads? Is it a combination of all those things? Also joining us on the line is journalist Richard Chacha, who is joining us. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning to you, Eric.
Good to hear from you, brother. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you so much. How are you?
Very well. Welcome to the conversation. We've been talking here with David, and we have basically been looking at the various aspects of road safety and issues of road accidents. Richard, tell us your own experience with accidents on the road.
Well, it's a sorry state, Eric, especially after what has been announced by BBC. You look at the causes, and you know the people who actually cause road accidents are there sitting in offices and the traffic policemen on the road. These senseless killings should never happen, because if people were to be straightforward and apply the law as it is, then we wouldn't be having all this. Look at the number of drivers on the road who get licenses through the back door, through corrupt means, and you see what happens. In my own case, in the accident that I was involved in 2012, we had a tire burst, and there was the driver was trying to control the vehicle in the middle. In the middle of the road, and there was a speeding matatu oncoming. So to avoid a head-on collision, the driver lost control of the vehicle, and that's how it happened. Now look at these people who are so careless on the road. You may be a law-abiding driver, you have everything in order, your car is in good shape, but you see those rogue drivers will lead you to causing accidents on the road. And that's how people die, that's how people get injured, permanent injuries, like the one I have.
So, Richard, from your analysis, what is the number one contributor of the road accidents in the country?
In my view, it's the drivers. The drivers who get on our road under influence of either alcohol or other substances. People who are greedy, looking to make quick cash, overloading vehicles, and the policemen just wave on the vehicles as they are overloaded, and we are also to blame. For instance, for public service vehicles, we passengers also take the blame because you see a driver speeding, swerving, carelessly driving, and you're all quiet. You will find other, sorry to say, youngsters will be cheering on the driver as he goes on with loud music, and that's how most of these accidents happen. So, number one, the drivers, then you trace it back to NTSA, and now and the policemen on the road.
It's very strange. When you look at the discussion around the causes of accidents, everything we're discussing here is an aftermath. It's a consequence. It's the manifestations of a bigger problem. You want to ask about the real cost of corruption. You want to ask why people are corrupt. You want to ask what is it that happens when corruption is accepted as the norm in a country now. And what is it that makes people accept corruption as the norm in the country? And do they understand the eventual cost of it? All these things that we talk about, they are tied in with every other discussion. When you talk about corruption in the prison services, when you talk about corruption at KEMSA, when you talk about corruption in the Kenya Ports Authority, when you talk about corruption at KENHAG, KERA, they're all tied in. Because at some point in the history of this country, all the things that we've heard being said about driving, they were uniform. If you took a driving test in Nyeri, and you went to Garbatula, and then you went to Kajiado, and then you went to Bungoma, then you came to Kisumu, and then went to Murang'a, it was the same. You knew exactly what you were supposed to do. Somewhere along the line, this commercial element that we like labeling as corruption came in. So yes, you'd go for the driving test, but even as you paid for your driving training, you paid for the license at the same time.
Yeah.
So the need to rigorously understand what was required of you as a road user started to go out of the window bit by bit by bit, to the point where it stopped being an issue. Because the process of getting a license was, you actually studied for it. You didn't just get a license. And you're trained in all aspects of driving. Now, ask yourself the question, what is it that makes people accept this. Michuki was successful because, as you say correctly, he had support. From who? The Mwananchi. The Mwananchi was willing to walk. They said, we're not putting up with this nonsense, the matatus. We will walk. As somebody who grew up in Mombasa, I recall when a matatu would stop at the bus stop and it was full, they would just be told, carry on. And then when music came into the matatus, it would stop and you'd be asked, "Yo gari kuna muziki?" If the music isn't to their liking, continue.
Render.
The passenger was not willing to be squeezed in the matatu. They'll just please continue. I will wait for the next matatu. Now, what is it that makes us comfortable, or what is it that makes us put up with inconveniences for ourselves? We've seen people queuing peacefully to board matatus. And we've seen people rushing to board matatus. The queuing came with the Michuki rules. Kenyans have a tendency of being two duplicitous things. One, we're actually very good at complying with the law, but we're also terrible at complying with it when it suits our purposes.
When the law acts, we
Comply.
We will support.
That's why we would have a face mask on our chin. It's for compliance. So when you see a policeman, you pull it up to your face.
It's interesting that you say that. And even I'm listening to you, Richard, even as you've given what your experience was. Do you find that after 2012 that you realized really how terrible things are on the road? And I think it's interesting that above all of this, you point to one of the factors that was mentioned in this expose about rogue drivers. That people are just not taking care, or people are just not, either one, never had the experience, or number two, have chucked all of that in terms of laws out the window. Do you find that you paid a little bit more attention to this after the experience that you went through personally, Richard?
Yes, I do pay a lot of attention, especially when someone is driving me. When I'm in a vehicle, I am very careful and give instructions. I even shout instructions to other drivers, and I'm like, what is the hurry? Why are you driving like this? I've seen a lot, and I've even stopped to address police officers on the road, traffic police officers, and just telling them, how do you let that guy go, and people are hanging outside? The car is clearly overloaded. The matatu is clearly overloaded, and it has just passed you here. Why would you do that? So I'm more alert now to whatever happens, what happens around me, especially when I'm on the road. I visit. I've been to hospitals. I've been to a spinal injury hospital. I've seen how people are suffering. I get to a point where I don't remember which country where people are forced to go to prison and visit the corrupt who have been jailed.
Yeah.
So I think some of these drivers should also be taken to some of these hospitals and see what they have, what pain they're causing because of their reckless driving.
You said something there, Richard. Enforcement, and there's apparent laxity in enforcement. So it's even not uniform. There's police officers at some point will allow vehicles to pass. NTSA at some point, some rogue officers will issue these driving licenses, will issue the PSV licenses to vehicles on the road. So there's a lot of issues on enforcement here that are just not working as they should. But this is not a new conversation, Richard. This is a conversation that has been there for many, many, many years. What is it that would be needed then to turn this wheel around and make sure that when we talk about enforcement, there is proper, strict enforcement by all traffic police officers or all officers of the law on the road? All authorities that are required to be playing a part here are also doing what they're supposed to be doing. What do we need to get there?
I don't know. I think the first thing is perhaps to dream that we can get Michuki back to life. Because that is one person who we all remember made a mark. From the top there, we need some serious people, some people who can who can change. Some people who perhaps instill fear in their juniors along the way, right from NTSA to the road, and just ensure, even if it means people leaving, the minister and top officers leaving the comfort of their offices to go and supervise along the way. I mean, on the roads and see what is happening. The public also needs to be to be educated. I mean, people should know that it's their responsibility, because you are in a matatu, things are going wrong, you're keeping quiet, and if hell breaks loose, you lose your life, you get injured, or even your close family members will get injured. Some of these, some of you can see. If I mean, I've been around for a while, and I know how police officers, I mean, even bribed to be assigned
traffic
duties, their duties on the road, let alone traffic, even duties on the road, so that they can collect money. That kind of that greed. People want to work at NTSA because there is quick money to make, but little do they know that they are actually killing. They are killing people.
But Richard, you've got to the heart of the matter. We are asking for almost the near impossibilities. How do you change people's hearts? How do you get people to value lives more than the acquisition of material things? Because people want money because money enables them to do certain things. And everything that we're discussing is because somebody wants to make more money than they're actually earning.
I think we should have longer jail terms for offenders. Yeah, and people should actually. There is this aspect of communication. I mean, we need to make sure that all these messages go out there. It's not enough to put a wreckage of a car along the road and remind people that this will happen. When you arrest people, remember the Michuki time. Passengers were arrested because the excess passengers were gotten out of vehicles and fined. That's where we should go. Drivers who flout traffic rules should be arrested. Those vehicles should be impounded. We want to see circles banned. We want to see action. I think we need someone more proactive in NTSA and the Ministry of Transport. I think people should start getting these things seriously.
As Richard is saying, one, you should know that we must have goodwill. Every time we say of the goodwill of the politicians, and that is what made Michuki succeed. But in this case, we don't have that goodwill. Because you see, I don't know whether it is because President Kibaki had an accident before he came to power, because you see, Michuki was very powerful during that time, and that goodwill means a lot. And in this case, we don't have that goodwill. And I want to give you an example. Just the other day, we started a crackdown. A crackdown was started. First of all, why do we have crackdowns in this country? When an accident happens, the following day, we have a crackdown. We have crackdown all over. It should be every day a vehicle should not be on the road as long as it is unroadworthy. So this thing should be there. But look, because of political whatever, we are going to the electioneering year. Within a time, it was stopped. And the people celebrated. The Matatu people celebrated. But what I'm telling them, they celebrated, but check this pace. How many people are going to lose their lives? Because you want to, the politicians have removed the crackdowns so that you are happy. If you can ask Richard how much money he has spent in hospitals, you will be surprised. And this money is not paid by the government. It is you as a person. Ask me, I had an accident. The kind of money you spend is a lot through these accidents. And people should know that. And drivers should know that. And this is with what Richard was saying. I think it is good sometimes. We take these drivers and these officers to the hospitals. They see themselves what is happening, the pain people are going
It's
through.
interesting that you say that, because as we looked at some of these statistics, one of the things you said is that, okay, so they said 4,500 have lost their lives over the last 12 months. But you're saying that number could be much higher. We have an example this morning on one of the traffic routes that we use of a gentleman who had an accident a month ago. He died this morning. He died today after having been in hospital for a month. So look at that medical treatment that he's received over the last 30 days. The amount of money that his family obviously would have spent in terms of care, and then having to lose your life because of your injuries thereafter. So some of these things are not then taken into consideration. When we talk about the state of the roads, when we talk about the state of drivers, when we talk about the care that's obviously not applied, I don't think we get it. Across board, I don't think we get it.
We don't.
How serious it is.
We don't
Because
internalize
we
this
don't
message.
internalize it. It's an accident. You see the wreckage. You say, "Oh, all right, it's
And
done."
you move on.
The person who caused it, okay, maybe you get a slap on the wrist, and then you go and
watu wangapi wamepelekwa hospitali?
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine
Is it
you who
about-
may have caused the accident, you may be remorseful in the moment, but do you take into consideration the things that have happened as a result of that?
What is it that has made us this insensitive?
The sanctity of life has been chucked out of the window quite a while ago, I think.
And another example I want to tell you. Look at the Ministry of Health when COVID came. Since COVID, we started discussing about COVID, we have lost about 5,000 people. But here we are talking of 1 year, losing more than 5,000 people in a year. So how many people have we lost? Seriously, roads are killing more people, even more than COVID. But let me tell you, look at the campaign which was there during COVID. Why? Because there was aid coming from outside. But when we talk of accident in this country, there's no aid coming from outside. Nobody is interested in it.
It's a localized issue.
That is, the game is over.
What do you do as the association in terms of increasing this awareness? Because I even hear what Richard is saying. Every time I pass by somewhere and I see police have gone and picked a very bad old wreckage and placed it somewhere, hoisted somewhere in the middle of the road, I'm like, this does not communicate. To me, this just looks like scrap metal. It doesn't tell me that this was an accident that caused this, that there's a story behind it. Maybe there was a child, there's somebody who died, there's somebody who got maimed for life. It doesn't tell that story.
But listen, what made you fear COVID and have that mask? It was the civic education.
Yes.
Every media was talking about it. All our politicians were talking about it. Our president himself was in it. We could see the CA's health in it. So everybody was well educated. What about our roads? Who is the CS of transport today? Is Machari. Have you ever heard him that there is an accident? He went, he has talked? Nothing. No, he's just there as a minister of transport. Today, ask me who is the PS of transport. I don't know, and I am in the sector. So what I want to tell you is that I want to tell you
It's
because
called Professor Maringa. You don't know.
You will not never know because you will never hear them even trying to say something. The way we could see, everybody could know that in Coast we have lost 500 people in Coast, and there are 600 in hospital. In Kajiado the same. Today, if an accident happens in Mombasa Road and those things are removed there, you'll just come and you'll not know there's anything has happened there. So it is good if the government can take this initiative to make sure that civic education is very important. And this can be done by our government. The same way they did with COVID. If they do it, and here they are not going to spend a lot of money. The other one, they had to spend money with the drugs, injections, with these, whatever, nothing. It's just educating our people.
Richard, as we conclude, what would be your closing remarks, a final message this morning to everybody who's listening?
My final message is that ahead should roll after this. We should see heads rolling. We should see a reshuffle at NTSA. We need to have more serious and sensitive people in those offices. We want to see. I wish we could just get hold of all these people and get them to watch what has been happening. And I wish BBC had more time just to show what people go through in hospitals, what those people who are living with permanent injuries are going through on a daily basis. So we need a proactive CS, like David has said. We need a proactive. We saw Michuki boarding a matatu and demonstrating how to put on a seatbelt. Do we even have the seatbelts these days? And do we even have people arrested because they are not on seatbelts? No, we do not have that anymore. So we need to have a total change, total overhaul of the system, transport system, right from the top down to the guy who is in charge of traffic police officers.
Thank you for those words, Richard. Richard Chacha is a journalist, he's a road traffic accident survivor, and we've also been having in the studio David Kiarie, chairman of the Road Safety Association of Kenya, talking about accidents on our roads and road safety, making sure that all of us play a part that we ought to play.